It's time for your assignment. What you're going to be working on first is finishing the core and cell style frame. Use all the finishing techniques that you learned in the last lesson and apply it to what you have so far with that style frame. Finish it all up and make it feel like one cohesive piece that was meant to be together. Once you feel comfortable with that style frame, we have 2 more for you to complete. So let's go through each one of them right now. This one right here is called Bing Bong, and it is a cell phone provider. So let's take a look at what we have. We've got a PDF that's a project brief and brand reference, and there's a couple things I want to point out in here. You can read through it all in detail in your own time, but what I want to show you is that there's this one particular part of the logo, the I, that's made up of these 3 dots and then the long line. And then down under the brand identity section, there's this little sentence here that says, the I in our logo is used as a graphical element throughout our branding package. When used, it should always be rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, and the spacing between shapes may be adjusted as needed. And you can see the example below, right here. So you can actually use this part of the logo in your style frame design. And if we take a look at the layout, the style frame layout guide that we got from the creative director, right here in the blue it says rounded squares behind model. You can take a look at everything else once you're ready to start making the style frame, but there will be a picture of a model here and then rounded squares behind model. It looks like this is what the creative director was using that part of the logo for, as a graphical element. Remember, rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, so we've got the long rectangle here and the 2 shorter ones here. And then the spacing is adjusted as needed. So this has probably bigger gaps between these dots than there are right here, but the creative director just took a little bit of creative freedom to fit that into their own vision a little bit better. So that's something to be aware of. There's text that you need to put into this document, all labeled out around this style frame guide as well. So be sure that you read through all of that, pay attention to everything that needs to be addressed in there, and then you'll have your Illustrator logo for Bing Bong, as well as some stock photos of different models, which you have some creative freedom choosing which one you want to use. So you've got all these different model shots and then a shot of the city. That will work its way into this style frame. So that's your first style frame, and then the last one will be for a company called Earshots, which is a headphone company, an audio company. So again, you have a brief explaining a little bit about the company, their brand identity, and what you need to make. And then you also have the style frame layout from your creative director. This one's much simpler. Looks like we're just going to have a roast turkey wearing headphones with the text "Feast Your Ears" and the logo. Very straightforward, but it's going to present an interesting challenge. Let's take a look at the stock photos. These are all the photos that you're going to have access to, and you'll notice that these sets of headphones, they don't have a logo on them. They're not even the same pair of headphones, and this is most likely because the client just hasn't sent over any product shots yet. So we got some generic options for you to work with, and you can basically use whichever one you think is going to work best for this particular style frame. However, what you're going to find is that these headphones aren't necessarily going to fit directly on this turkey and look convincing right as they are, the way that they were photographed. So really quickly, I want to go into Photoshop. And I've already cut one of these pairs of headphones out on a transparent background, so I have the alpha for that. And I want to show you how you can manipulate this very easily with a really cool tool inside of Photoshop that we haven't touched yet. It's called Puppet Warp. To use it, I have a smart object, so this is going to be a non-destructive edit. I'm going to have that layer selected and go up to Edit, down to Puppet Warp. What this is going to do is create a mesh based on the alpha channel of your layer. And remember, alpha channel is the transparency, so everything that is transparent right now is being ignored, and it's putting this mesh around the pixels that are actually there. Now, by default, the density of this mesh is set to normal. I want to change that to more points. The higher density your mesh, the more accurate and cleaner looking your distortions will be. But now that my mesh is generated, I can simply click right here on this side of the headphone. I can click right here on this side of the headphones. I can put one right up here, and you can think of these as if I had the headphones printed out on a piece of paper, I had cut it out, and I'm sticking it on the wall using pins. So I've got one right up there in the top, I've got one on the left headphone, one on the right headphone, and now if I click and drag, you see just how easily I'm able to manipulate the positioning of my headphones. So you could turn your show mesh off so that you're just looking at the layer itself. This allows you to very precisely distort any layer so that it fits however you need it to. You could also add another pin here, and that way it doesn't bend out this section anymore. But this is just a very powerful tool to know how to use. Once you're happy with the distortion, just click on this check mark up here. That applies the transformation, and like I said, because mine's a smart object, it's not a destructive edit, so I can turn it off and back on, or I can even double click on Puppet Warp to go back in and edit this a little bit more. So that's something that you're definitely going to want to know how to use inside of this assignment and for future use inside of Photoshop. To recap your assignment, you're going to be finishing up that core and saw assignment using those finishing techniques and getting it to look really nice and polished, and then move on to these other two style frames, one for Bing Bong and one for Earshots. Once both of those are completely laid out and you've applied all the finishing touches to them, they're ready to go. Export all of them and upload them to the Homework Locker, and be sure to include your source PSD project files. Alright, that's all for this assignment. Good luck!